I start live streaming, please.
She's starting it now.
Oh.
Supposedly. Oh, I mean, you just start. I'll deal with this.
I'm now in the meeting at 5:30. Right, now we're gonna do roll call. We just go around the room saying who you start. Just say that, yeah, I'm Zane.
Hi, I'm Zane Poffenberg. I'm the Vice President of Student Organizations again.
My name is Reese Trubinsky. I'm a senator at Keehan.
I'm Sean Jordan. I'm a senator at Keehan.
My name is Booney. I'm a senator.
I'm Terrence. I'm a senator here. My name is Kalashi. I'm a senator here.
I'm Rashad. I'm a senator.
I'm Hidayah. I'm a senator, she, her.
I'm Brenda. I'm the president of SGA, she, her pronouns.
Hi, I'm Francis. I'm the executive vice president of SGA, she, her.
Hi everyone, I'm Beatrice Gutierrez Malagon. I'm one of the SGA advisors, and I'm also a coordinator for leadership here at Campus Life, and I use she, her pronouns.
Candace Martinez-Down, assistant director for leadership and governance. I also serve as SGA advisor, she, her pronouns.
Alright, my name is Abdul. I'm with the Retriever.
My name is Kai. I'm a senator.
I'm Jared. I'm a senator.
I'm Josue. I'm the assistant speaker.
I'm Lauren. I'm the speaker. Okay, great. Hi, do you need anyone to repeat it?
No, anyway.
Awesome. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes from last Monday.
Approval of the agenda.
Oh, sorry. Is everyone okay with the agenda as it is right now?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Is anyone opposed? Jonathan. Because now we're going to move on to the minutes from last Monday. You want us to fix your name?
I don't really care. It doesn't really reflect the accuracy of anything. So it's just my name.
That's what you want. Almost everything.
And then they just look like this. Yeah. This probably looks like that in that way.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Is anyone opposed? Passed by joint consent. Alright, so now we're going to move on to new business. So we have a joint legislation authored by Justin and Josue. So Josue, can you just explain a little bit about this?
Can you show us the attachment?
Yeah, you just scroll down. Good evening, everybody. We are presenting the reforms to the Staff Review Committee. Just some general things if we go down. It's alright. So one of the first things we talk about membership and term length. The thing being edited is the section right here in red. SRC members will be required to attend meetings unless timely notice is provided to the co-chairs, which is myself and the Vice Chair of Finance Board, Justin. In the event that an SRC committee member is unable to attend due to an unexcused absence, and they are unable to provide an adequate replacement, they will receive an automatic pay cut of 25% of the full stipend for the quarter. Yep. This, we just want to make sure that people can be held accountable for the commitment they made. On to the next section, committee procedures. So we just did like a little like revising just with like words and grammar. So we just changed this to SGA advisors, plural. The SRC co-chairs working with the president and the SGA advisors shall determine the format of the evaluation meetings as well as stipend review process each academic year, which shall have the agendas that are sent out at least 1 week prior. We changed bi-weekly to a regular basis. That's decided by the coaches for the given academic year. The reason being is that we wanted to kind of leave a little bit of room for, say for example, there's another administration that they think they want to do SRC a little bit different. They kind of have the freedom to decide that upon themselves without having to go through a whole process of changing the budgetary policy. So for us, we're doing it weekly. Say, for example, next year they want to do it bi-weekly or who knows, like monthly. Going on to the committee evaluations. Just one thing we wanted to make very, very clear is that making any committee member's personal decisions, opinions, or evaluations known to the public is prohibited unless shared anonymously on the evaluation rubric for an individual officer, which is public record. Basically, we just wanted to protect people's privacy, especially the people that are sitting on the SRC committee. They're not allowed to like disclose like how they're reviewing people, who they're reviewing, or anything of that nature. Where are we now? Just go down. Sorry. Proxy voting is also prohibited. Remove that. Let's keep going down, please. And that's it. So this is a joint legislation that we wanted to present to everybody, to the Senate and Finance Board if it's approved. Questions, concerns, comments? Hello. Yes, Candace.
Is there a reason why you removed proxy voting?
You'd have to ask Justin that. He just decided to remove it.
Well, no,
Actually, let me
we
pull
didn't
it.
add proxy voting?
No, that's because so it says it's removing that nature, that sentence. It's stricken.
Right, but it says that sentence prohibited proxy voting.
Yeah, proxy voting is voting when you're not there.
Okay.
So voting like from online or from a web camera or from
I mean, it's not allowed in any other of our
right.
business.
So what I'm
So
saying
he said that, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. So it's written in there that proxy voting is prohibited currently. That's what it says. This is an amendment to remove that, to then allow proxy voting on your SRC.
Okay, and that's for the online nature of how it's starting to be done, or?
Yeah, partly. So the reason Justin, one of the reasons why he told me why he wanted to do this is to kind of make it a little bit much more easier the process, especially for voting. Besides that, that's all he kind of disclosed to me. My thinking is like, say for example, SRC committee member can't attend, but they've done all their evaluations ahead of time. They can just like either like show up to the committee like virtually speaking and like present that.
I would advise against this.
What do you see as the problem?
There's no one, I think it's a slippery slope of proxy voting. That once you start to allow that in one part of your like processes, that you will start to allow that in other parts of your processes. I think that the benefit of having people in the space to talk about stuff, for it to be deliberative, is outweighs the cost of like having to find someone to replace you or having to being able to do it via webcam or like through Slack or something. I think that is, I would advise this.
Rashawn, thank you for that.
I think in this case, I don't think proxy voting would be a problem since there's such a big, what's it called, punishment for it. You get 25% reduced from each stipend if you're not there. So you're basically choosing whether it's proxy vote or to have your stipend cut by quarter. So I think in this case, proxy voting should be allowed because you're not there, right? you're getting 25% of your stipend removed, but you already reviewed the accounts and documents. So if you're taking that chance, if you're having your stipend removed, I think you should be able to, but still. But in any other cases, I do see where you come from.
Is there deliberation?
Diane.
Sorry, Libby.
So does proxy voting like allow someone else to be like, so and so can vote for me? Or
No, because if you're on the committee, you can't necessarily have someone else vote for you. And I'll explain the whole like having someone step in a second. Because like you if you're on the committee, you're evaluating all these people, and only you should have like record of that and knowledge of that until the SRC committee meeting. Now that's why we have this other process where if you can't come for whatever reason, you can come in as a proxy, like via webcam stuff. But if you need to have someone substitute you, in the extreme case you literally cannot show up for whatever reason, you have to submit like somebody to step in your place, which will have to be approved by the officials.
also are these meetings for SRC like predetermined? Like
Is there an agenda do you mean, or?
or like you said it's weekly this year, right?
So the SRC committee meets 2 times every quarter, I believe,
Okay.
every semester.
So like
So-
you have like those like dates already planned on when you meet.
Yes, we
Okay.
have all the dates set. You saying something?
Yeah, so is there, how much discussion is had between each person evaluating? Because I know this time, the evaluation is happening more on an individual level, like each person has like a certain number of SRCs that they have to evaluate specifically. Is there overlap? Like how much collaboration goes into the process?
You define a little bit more, but what do you mean like collaboration? Like, do you mean like how
Like,
much?
Like, is there any,
Like,
would there be value in me, like, let's say we're in the same room, okay, would we discuss a certain SRC, or would it just kind of be up to me?
You're talking about like at the committee or
Like,
like?
if I have an
private?
SRC that I'm evaluating,
Yeah.
is there somebody else in the room who also feeds into that SRC as well?
So you're asking if you're evaluating by yourself.
Right. That's
You
what
are, but that is the whole point of you evaluating. The thing is, when you show up at the SRC committee, most of that time is dedicated to discussion. In that case, you would share your evaluations with your peers, and then they would vote upon that. The evaluation process is mostly guided by the rubrics, which are basically formatted on like the outlines of your job description, like what you're supposed to be doing. That being said, if you're an SRC committee member, it should be very straightforward if you're evaluating someone, because you would just be looking at their SRC reports, and evaluating if they fulfilled their job responsibilities. And then, even then, like I said, you would have to come before your peers, the SRC committee members, and you come together and vote.
But if you're the only one looking at it, then why is everybody voting?
Why is everybody voting on the SRC committee?
Yeah, if you're the only one who looks at it.
Because you can't be the only person like saying, like for example, you can't just say, oh, I don't want this person not to get paid.
Right,
Um,
okay, so
And
that's,
so we come together, so
so where's
if-
the check?
where's the check? The check is the peers. They'll say like, oh, look, like maybe I see that this person has been doing some of their work, and for whatever reason, then it can be discussed among the other people.
Okay, so, but the other people don't actually see their application, they'll just,
The rubrics.
yeah, they'll just know what they've seen the other person do.
They've seen the reports, like they filled out. Is that what you're asking?
But if there's, only one person will see like my report, for example, right?
But everybody can see it. So
They can,
Is
you
it-
have
Yeah,
somebody
sure,
else.
everyone will see it, but it is like my responsibility to read them over in depth and provide a synopsis to the stipend review committee. And then after that synopsis, if there's discussion to be had, if there's questions about maybe why somebody voted to say somebody only partially completed a part of their job, you could go back to the completed reports to see what the member put or what the evaluations were from peers.
Okay, so anybody who gets a cut basically gets looked at more heavily
Yes.
than people who
Yes.
are just giving their stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
I think, if I may have.
Yeah, go ahead.
I also think I think that when having people be there in person is so important, I may be blunt, because there's an accountability, to being there in person in terms of paying attention. It's very easy to be in a web meeting and not paying attention. It's easy to be in an in-person meeting and not paying attention. But I think the temptation to just, okay, Jared's gonna present his, and I'm gonna be on this web meeting, but I'm really gonna be doing something else. And then when they call my vote, I just vote with everybody else. Like, it's super easy to do that. So the in-person piece is not only to allow for people to ask questions, to be deliberative, for you to be able to read the room about how people are feeling about stuff, but I also think it serves as an accountability measure. And so I cannot stress to you enough how important I think it is for that to remain in there and for proxy voting to not go up.
Brenda?
I was gonna say something else. It doesn't matter. Oh, so the check that Jared, you were asking about, each officer has 2 different SRC reps evaluating them, right?
Okay.
That's still true.
Not really.
That's not still true? Okay, never mind on that. So about the proxy voting, I'm gonna agree with Candace that that has to stay in. And I think that's especially because technology makes this a little weird. So let's say, for example, I was supposed to be at an SRC meeting and then I couldn't go last minute. So Zane was serving on SRC, so I just texted Zane and I was like, here's my vote. And then I texted Josue and I was like, here's my vote, but then it was different than when I texted Zane. Which one is that? Like, I think it opens up a lot of doors that are difficult to kind of work through. And if you're trying to simplify SRC, I think taking that out makes it a little more complicated. So I would recommend that a senator amend this in the legislation.
Yeah, y'all can amend it or not pass it.
Any more comments, questions?
So who originally wrote in proxy voting?
Proxy voting, the
Who
proxy
took it
voting
out,
was
or-
always there.
Yeah, who took it out?
Yes.
Justin.
Can I have a motion to table this for next meeting?
There's a second.
Maybe Justin can come and talk about it.
All those in favor?
So I have a question, sorry, before voting, can I
What
add
is-
something?
Hold on. We're in the middle of the, wait, Candace, do we have to keep the?
Because I feel like this would
first vote?
affect the decision.
Or should we go back?
You just move to this discussion.
I don't know.
Wait, what's happening?
So the motion on the floor,
There is a
right?
mo- there is
You
a
have to
motion.
act on the
Yeah,
motion
you have to
that's on the floor.
act on the motion, because it was seconded already.
So we're gonna.
So your
Can you
motion
say,
was to
like,
table.
No, the motion, yeah, the motion was to table, and then Rashad wanted to add another discussion.
So if you don't table, then you can move it to back to discussion.
And then we can retable?
Yeah.
So someone has to move to table, not.
I know, it was already moved to table, so you have to vote on that motion.
Right.
Unless whoever made the motion rescinds the motion, then you can move back into discussion.
No, you can rescind the motion, it's seconded.
Okay, let's just follow through with the motion and then go into Rashad's point, alright, so all those in favor of tabling it until Justin comes in? Okay, the motion does not pass, alright, go ahead.
So with the first SRC meeting coming at fast, I think it's best to do it now, get it over with, for the officers that are reviewing, stipends, to be able to have a guiding doc to look at. Yes, go ahead.
What is the first one? Sorry?
First meeting is October 6th.
This coming
coming Sunday. That being said, technically this isn't really affecting how we're doing it right now, because we're just doing it right now. This is sort of more to kind of create precedent for like other SRC reforms to come in the future and stuff like that. But if we weren't to pass this, it wouldn't affect how we're doing it now. The only thing that would be notable is just like the attendance penalty and the language change from bi-weekly to regular basis. That's the only thing that technically affects us, but we're doing our SRC reports every week. So this could be tabled, this could be amended.
Is there a motion?
department, you all know what that is, communications. So you all confirmed the director last week, so Michelle, we are nominated to be the associate director. Basically the same responsibilities as the director, but a little bit less as an associate director does. Managing the communications department, it's about 8 or 9 people. Kind of working with the director to make sure that there are broader communication strategies that are happening, whether that's getting in touch with students or getting more followers on social media, communications related things. We're expecting 6 to 8 hours a week out of this position. And then Michelle especially is awesome because she worked with the communications department last year, and so she kind of has an idea of the model that we're looking for, and is a good transition to this year.
Great, thank you. So Michelle, if you could just give us like 3 to 5 minutes about who you are and your experience last year, and then we can go into some questions.
So I'm a junior right now. I'm an American Studies major, and then I first joined SGA last semester, and I work in the SGA department, the communications department, as the director of communications and public relations, coordinator of public relations. And so with that position, I did a lot of maintaining the social media sites, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and my UMBC. And then I put out weekly SGA Senate posts, updates, and yeah, that's pretty much all I was doing.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Michelle Kalachi?
That's not her. Unless you want, did you want to ask questions?
No, I have a question. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, she usually sits here,
Yeah, that's
and I usually sit there.
That's
So she's like, okay, we're both black, so it's okay. Alright, I'm gonna ask a question now. So, as the coordinator of PR during the spring, last spring, right, semester, what, if anything, did you learn about yourself, leadership, or anything within your position?
So I was working with another person at the time as the coordinator of PR, and we kind of bounced between each other about like ideas and like what we need to do, but I kept on top of my stuff. I made like weekly planning of tasks I needed to do, and I kept up with that. And so I think, just following through with that even into this year.
So you learned how to schedule yourself at on time.
So I know we had a lot of different administration changes just within the communications department, and there wasn't really a lot of clear cohesion within the department and just kind of in SGA as a whole. So what is your vision for the department and how you see facilitating communication between SGA and also SGA and the general student body?
So when I started, we were still kind of getting used to the social media interaction with like the student body and like amongst ourselves. So kind of emphasizing more focus on social media, getting more followers, making sure like these updates go out on time, letting people know who we are actually. So that's gonna be like the main focus, like just kind of solidifying our interaction.
Any other questions? Is there any other question?
So, one of the talking points of this Senate meetings have been making SGA more visible on campus. What, if anything, do you think you would do to make SGA more visible as the social media?
So I know that I mentioned this a lot last semester, but I think making sure that the student body knows who we are as SGA, like individually, like who we are, like what role we play in SGA, and like just our personal interests as well, just going beyond just work and organization, getting to know who we are and see our faces
Hear from outside of the
don't feel shy to ask. Because the whole point of this is to check, so we want to see why we feel like Michelle is qualified. So please voice your questions.
Jared, do you have any questions?
I love her. She's here last week.
Move discussion period to open discussion period.
Is there a second? All those in favor of moving to discussion? Alright, and the motion passes. So Reese, would you like to start this?
Yeah, I think she's a candidate. She has experience from last year, obviously. She has experience from, in her resume she had experience, and then just internal SGA experience, which is, we have some people who are returners, but not often, so that shows that she's dedicated to the position and also that she has relevant knowledge to allow her to be a very good candidate for the position. Similar thoughts? Opposite thoughts?
Did you say her resume shows her
It shows like experiences in like interfacing with other people.
Also, I feel like her application shows that she has experience, so she has worked with SGA and she worked with PR.
Well, she's very qualified, so I move to approve SL 1920.
Second. All those in favor? All opposed, 0, all abstaining, 0, and the motion passes.
Welcome back.
Did you? Did you?
Lumi, did you? I counted that wrong. Alright. All those in favor?
Wait,
No,
no,
you counted it right? Okay,
All right.
let's
Everybody was
career?
gonna ask you
Yes.
a question before what you said. I was gonna ask you, because you said.
Alright, Michelle, you can come over here.
You said that you did something.
However,
She's also has like a heart. You can't really I feel like sometimes
Do you know her from previous years?
no, but I know people that know.
So the reason why we have
Based on what I'm reading and what I first saw. Do you disagree? I mean,
I don't think it's I'm just asking you why you have that thing.
yeah, I think for me,
yes.
more than
Okay, guys, we're about to start a confirmation. And just put your right hand up and repeat after me. So I, and state your name, do solemnly affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of Director, Associate Director of Communications Department of the UMBC Student Government Association and will, to the best of my ability, promote and defend the interests and well-being of UMBC's undergraduate students. Congratulations.
Woo!
So our next confirmation is for Donna.
Is it 10 minutes?
It's in 10 minutes. So if anyone would like to register an extension, I would be the time.
I'll register an extension.
could you please state the reason for your
To my girlfriend.
Aww. I'm gonna vote no.
Jose, the Vice President of Supervisors. Oh, this is some of these people.
About point.
Bruh.
Oh, what are these chewy things for like?
Bye, Michelle.
Let's keep it.
sit for like?
We can discuss matters more.
S.
What would you like to discuss? What would you like to discuss?
Huh?
What would you like to discuss?
I couldn't help it. I know.
I think it's not enough time for everyone to
Yeah.
I think it's me. No, it's not. Is it up?
It's just that it's just that this one, I don't wanna like say for every single one we have 10 minutes.
You mean one?
We have 15 minutes technically for the whole confirmation. This one just ended early.
Cause I could easily showcase some stuff real quick.
No, I understand what you're saying. It's not consistent 10 minutes for every single one. So we have like.
You know, the usual. Why did you use the Code Academy logo?
I mean, if you like, you can.
What?
Your shirt.
For this one? Well, it was Capital One.
Code Academy.
It's a bit tricky to specific. But I get what you're saying.
Believe that is the Code Academy.
You can put out like your yeah. Like guys, I have an idea. What do you guys think?
That may sound like.
Also, Rashad, don't you want to ask almost way about SRCs?
Do you want to do it now?
You can do another 5 minutes.
Okay. So where can I find? You told me where are the rubrics and the.
So if you go in the SRC folder in the shared drive,
So like,
Fine.
by
Yes.
say yes,
there's a folder called SRC rubrics. You click that, and then there's one for every legislative body.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is, you don't actually like edit those, you make a copy of that, and you put it on your personal drive.
How can I access like finance for executive branch SRC reports?
Oh, so you go back to the original SRC folder,
Correct.
and they should be just open at the very bottom of the
Yeah,
list.
I read them all the time.
Yeah. Here's it.
Oh, they're on weekly reports.
Yeah, I'm not. You want me to add that folder to the.
Question.
I don't like that. I don't want to do it.
Don't do mine. Don't SRC me.
Why?
No. So this is.
I still think it's fair for me
I mean, this is one, but I'm saying that like, I would want you to be like this part.
I don't
Yeah, no,
Under
that's
the one that I know, I see.
it's fair how, yes, how it has to like,
you have an
also review finance board people that don't know what's going on.
That's why you need the report.
No, like, but like.
So what you can do is go to the
And your internship at the education department.
It's like,
Wait, is it your phone or is it
My phone.
Oh, that's
Where is that? Why did you go to that game?
yes.
Yeah.
I went to an EWS event.
Accountability.
How was it?
It was for children.
And so what you do is
It was for children, and it was in Manassas, Virginia, so that was a nice drive.
Did they paid anything?
I'm knowing.
I got free food.
That's your responsibility.
It
You
was
could have gotten free food.
So am I supposed to go?
Well, I also had to take my sister and I went to go hang out with
I mean, I know what they
friends
do,
and
but
stuff,
I'm
so.
not.
How was the transition?
And that's what I'm saying. Is there
Yeah, so we had, UBC provided us.
He doesn't like know
To
the job
BW Tech, and
description,
BW
so,
Tech
like,
is
that's
kind
know
of
what they're
like,
doing, what they're supposed to.
it's not too far away, and a lot of people just drove themselves.
like it's just so knowing what
So in reality, like we only took like, yeah, South, BW Tech South, because they still have power.
chair.
Yeah.
So we went there, and we couldn't use the entire building because there are some, there are actual companies that are there. There's some weird stuff.
It's not that deep.
Like, you look in the window, there's like nitrogen tanks sitting there and shit. But it was really good, nothing bad happened.
Yeah, I have like 20.
It was nice. It was nice. Free
Are you on LinkedIn?
Hook us up like that.
Wow.
You can just take a seat.
Zane, are you on LinkedIn?
On LinkedIn? What do you mean? Oh,
Because he can't find you.
not currently. I need to wait for it.
It sounds like
Look at all people calling.
You're not right. You're not here with me. Hi.
234.
Why did you say Hanukkah?
I need to get more. Yeah, I do.
Okay, good.
I have an intermediate competitive.
Yes, Francis, I am doing it.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks,
Okay,
Mom.
so,
Did read it, Mom.
What is going on? We're live.
guys, alright, so now we're gonna move on to our next confirmation. Since Shadron is here. So Zane, can you just give us a bit of background behind
Yeah.
this position?
Again, I'm Zane Murray, the Vice President for Student Organizations. So each year the VPSO hires a student organization support team that consists of various members doing different tasks and responsibilities. And so for this one, it's the Student Organization Committee Representative. And so who I've nominated Shadron for. In this position, so the SOC is a committee within it's a shared committee between SGA and Campus Life. So currently who sits on it is Candace, Martina Stone, Tori Beasley, Courtney Campbell, both coordinators for student organizations. And then the student representatives are myself, Liam Kim, the chair of the finance board, and then the appointed student member. So basically what this committee does is its main function is for new student organizations to approve them, kind of like get them through the process, vetting, help them come up with goals and plans for the years, and then recommend them for approval through Dan Barnhart, who's the director of Campus Life. And we do some other issues like constitutional fixes and kind of other things that student orgs want to change, like in their constitution, make amendments, other things like that. So that's the main function, and then she'll be working on other initiatives for the SOST to support student organizations, whether it's through SOC or other projects that she might be interested in that we're taking up at the time. So yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. Candace, is she eligible for the position?
Yes.
So Shadron, if you could just take a few minutes just to give us some brief background about yourself and any experience you have in the position.
Okay. Hi, my name's Shadron. I'm a junior at UMBC. I'm currently an econ major with a minor in statistics. I'm also a Sondheim scholar. And I think my experience at UMBC in terms of involvement has been very unique because the first year I lived on the Schreiber LLC, which meant that I had to take up part in a service site, and I volunteered with Syrian refugees at an elementary school like 15 minutes from here at Beach Fields, where I trained Syrian refugees in speaking English, math, how to adapt to the American culture. And I think this was really unique because it gave me insight to the UMBC community outside of the campus, where I could see what local areas surrounded us. And then last year I worked at the Women's Center as a paid staff member, where I was the co-facilitator of Women of Color Coalition, leader of Pop Culture Pop-Up, and I also led Telling Our Stories project, where we featured a zine put heartbreak, to love, to losing someone. So I think in hopes of sharing these personal stories, we'll know that, you know, we're not alone in our struggles.
That's really cool. Okay. Any other questions? Is there a motion?
Move to approve SL 20-1920.
Or a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, all opposed, 0, abstention. And the motion passes. Right, Shivani, you can just come over here. Mr. Right hand up. Oh, I'm so sorry. Wow, people can say that. I, state your name, do solemnly affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of Student Organizations Committee Representative of the UMBC Student Government Association and will, to the best of my ability, promote and defend the interests and well-being of UMBC's undergraduate students. I'm gonna start slowing down. Was that slow? Like good?
Yeah,
That was good.
The next person's coming in. Or should we just do it?
Can you read that?
I don't know, that's what I want to say.
Oh, wait,
Yeah, I got
Okay.
I'm not saying that you're going to
I'm just trying to think of stuff right now, like how to say
In
it.
public where no one can
Yeah,
hear
the
me.
thing is, like, if the person comes in early, you can, I don't know, it's just a kind of,
So we can't continue.
I mean, you can format the agenda, but because that time is allocated specifically, if the person comes in and it's a bit awkward.
Did you see the Alexa stuff? But we're gonna start at the time.
That's what, I mean, see, the thing is, like, if they show up early at the starting, and they show up here just to,
I just
if there's no one else
think
there.
it's gonna kill everyone if we occasionally laugh in discussion.
Did we all have? I was just trying to get this.
Wait, what do you want to
I
talk
mean,
about?
I'm just wondering. Because we talked
Sorry,
about.
I have anxiety.
I mean, so do I.
Can I abstain or is it
Because
too
we all
late?
have to present.
You can abstain whenever you want.
So you're free to motion.
So do I just wait?
You don't have to ask me.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're free to motion to say, move to amend the agenda to do one SRC debate, and then one second, and then general consent, and then you do it.
But it,
You-
can I have to update on your too?
Yeah.
Does anyone have a short?
Can I abstain for the next one?
Yeah, wait, why?
I just know her. She was my seatmate also last year.
Okay, yeah, alright, thank you.
Leader.
So, Zoe, would you like to?
I'm going to.
5 minutes?
If I vote no, that would be so clear. This is so cool. Let me see. I want to tell them so.
I have one of Model X. My friend had a Tesla this summer.
Jesse, hi, Mr. Jones.
You see, like, the updates, like,
You would hate that.
They had like a fire, like this little fire.
Yeah,
like
like-
venting.
Yeah,
my
that's
friend
right.
did it to show us, and we were like, move to amend the agenda.
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor, oh wait.
What are you
amend it
amending?
to what?
To move at least one SGC to this time slot so that we can go through the SGCs.
I don't have an SGC.
I mean,
Initiative
what do you
update,
have?
initiative update.
Or initiative update. Or is that possible to do either or like that?
I mean, I feel like we only have 5 minutes until.
He said that he's just 5 minutes.
Who's?
Well, I mean, I think there's just be in the future, we should do that, but not.
Yeah, for the next one.
You can just say what the next one.
For the next one.
So, no, we can just say it like when it happens, say it for the next one.
Never mind. There you go.
Shot, did you get
Yes, thank you.
did the images show up?
Yes.
Okay, thank God.
Is it just me or is it dark right here?
It is.
Is it because of the outside or is it because of these lights?
I think it's because of the outside. It's really
Oh my
cool.
God.
It is really.
It's also because you're not smart.
Imagine just like valet
Oh.
parking.
Aww.
It's valet parking.
That was cute.
Open a window.
No.
You're not confused.
That is the
With
coolest
a
thing
gloss
ever.
laminate or two with a
Yeah, we get
Hey,
it's a Tesla.
Matt.
Matt.
It's a new
Matt.
upgrade.
Matt.
Where the car can come.
Aren't you from Quebec?
Yeah.
No way.
Literally.
Look, watch.
It's 35. So.
Absolutely crazy.
I love you so much.
Hello.
Hi.
Can we do our quote wall again?
That's it.
My friend has one of these.
That's my thing.
Feels like that.
No.
Oh, I got a quote for the phone book. It's glossy, it's 42. Matt.
Okay, guys, so Cadet is here. Item.
Hello.
So Brenda, if you could just give us a brief blurb.
Sure.
Blurb about this position.
So this is the same position that you all confirmed to post up for last week. It's the coordinator of social media and web design. So the position is pretty self-explanatory. This person would be managing or helping to manage, because there's 2 of these positions, all of SGA social media in my UMBC, and also helping out with putting stuff on the website. And they're going to go through a whole training for that process so that they know what to do. And then they work within the communications department. And so there's a whole structure within there where they have an associate director and a director supporting them. So the coordinator positions are mostly assignment based, so they would get assignments from anybody in the legislative branch or top 4 or their director. But they also have license to come up with their own social media campaigns if they would like to, and we encourage them to do so.
Great, thank you. So Cadet, if you could just, sorry, I'm over here. If you could just give us like a brief explanation, like who you are and any experience you have in a position like this.
So I'm Cadet. I'm a sophomore, computer science and psychology major. This will have been my first year on SGA, but from what I've seen, SGA is like very active on campus, so I really want to be a part of that. I'm also really active on social media, which is why I feel like I'm kind of a good fit for this position. And I have some web development experience.
So a big part of what we're doing, or we're planning to do as a Senate this year, is to increase SGA presence on campus, right? That could be whether through social media, website, whatever. Do you have any plans on how, or any ideas on how you can do that as a coordinator for social media?
Yeah, so I think Instagram is probably like one of the best ways to show what SGA is doing. So I think stories and like live streaming different events and just like what's going on in the office. And also showing like maybe like student stories, kind of like
UMBC Life.
kind of like UMBC Life, or you know these, it's like a New York page. It's like Streets of Streets of yeah. So I feel like that'd be kind of interesting to show since SGA is supposed to be representative of all undergrad students. So like showing undergrad schools and stuff like that.
I have a question.
I haven't heard.
Oh.
Just kidding.
So I saw on your resume you went, is it like a film festival or something like that?
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit more about that?
So I mean, I basically my position was like organizing the tickets and also like promoting the film festival in like helping distribute like designs and stuff like that. And just like putting them up. But yeah, it was like a local film festival.
Wait, did you actually have a question?
Yeah. So one of our biggest issues regarding our presence or just outreach in general is like followers. We don't have many followers.
We have followers, but they're not current UMBC students.
Yeah.
They're
Like alumni.
Yeah.
So we don't have relevant followers who are active. How do you plan, or do you have any ideas to increase engagement on our platform? Because we could have great videos if no one's watching it. Like there's no impact.
So I feel like a lot of that is because we're not posting enough, and what we do post is kind of like a text post, and it's good for like letting people know what events are going on and stuff like that. But like I feel like people want to see people and like what's going on in the events, and not just like promoting the event, but like what's going on in the event. So I feel like people will see some of that, and you know, like we're always posting. That will probably like not only will that increase SGA engagement, but like also how other students are engaged on SGA.
Yeah. So I see that you currently work at the library and you also have multiple clubs. How would you like manage your time for all the different commitments that you have and for this position?
I mean, I would say that I'm like a really organized person, and like I've always been someone that's juggling a lot of responsibilities. So I feel like, and this is supposed to be like 2 to 4 hours a week, so it won't really cut into that much. But yeah, I just feel like I'm really organized. So
Move to approve.
Yes. Also, so I think some of the struggle that SGA may have around, I'm Candace Martinez Don, that's the advisors. Let me put that out there. I think one of the struggles is that we can be a little decentralized in terms of like putting information out. So how would you, or what is an idea, or what comes to your mind when I tell you that to help SGA sort of centralize some of that communication stuff?
So like so do you mean decentralized in all of SGA?
Right, so like Senate has stuff that they're working on, Finance Board has stuff that they're working on, Executive Branch has stuff that they're working on. You know, sometimes those streams don't cross, you know, like in guest book figures. So, but when they do, amazing things happen. But so I think that, you know, there's different like ideas about what communication looks like. Or there's maybe like some struggles around like, well, who do we send this to? You know, communication branch is in the executive branch, but we're the Senate, we're not, we're in the legislative branch. So like, I guess my question is like, what do you think would be an effective strategy for sort of getting everybody on the same page around like communication?
Yeah, so I don't really know how the process looks in like across like different boards or how you guys would want
No
delegate
process.
which post would they need to be posted. But since there are going to be 2 people on this resolution, I think it would be easier like only even 1 person to get where you guys need this to be posted. But I don't know if you guys have done like, I don't know what you guys have done in the past, but maybe it's something simple as like both times. For whatever you guys want.
That's great. Yes. Excellent.
That was my question.
Yeah, and
So I also like agree that if we like post more people on our Instagram, like people would want to follow us more. But I also feel like people just like don't know that we have an Instagram, or they don't know what SGA even is. Like I feel like people just like view us as like oh, we go to them if we need money kind of thing. But you know, like Senate isn't like we don't really talk to clubs like one-on-one. So like how would you like what tactics or like ideas do you have for like getting exactly like what positions in SGA do what, or like even like making it known that we have an account and like who the SGA is, like, other than just like posting more pictures of like our faces and we need to know like how to like get our name out there.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, so like at any of SGA hosted events, I think it would be very wise to like mention our social media pages. 'Cause a lot of people honestly, like you said, don't really know about the social media pages. So yeah, I guess like promoting our pages more and also like on our social media pages, to kind of like show different positions in SGA. I think it would be interesting to have like different spotlights of like different people who are on SGA. So it's kind of like more individualized and people get to know individual people on SGA.
I lost the comment. Do you have experience working with a diverse group of people? One, that's my first question. I will, in conjunction to this question, you stated that students love seeing social media pages that represent them. How would you represent a diverse body such as allegedly UMBC? Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of like what I was saying earlier about getting different student stories on the social media page. And so I answered this question.
Have you worked with a diverse group before?
Yeah, so SGA is really diverse, but I've done work with this but I feel like I haven't had a position where I would be representing such a big people. So no, I guess a group as like this as UMBC I haven't, but like on a smaller scale, like different organizations I have, but not on a like really large scale.
So you're saying that the humans of who you were thinking is what you could carry on still to represent the people,
Yeah, I think that would be really good.
and that would attract more people to the SGA Instagram or pages.
Move to approve SL 21-1920.
Second.
all those in favor? 10, 0 opposed. Ms. Morgan Rosie and Ms. Sadie O. Just gonna raise your right hand up. I, and then say, guys, confirmation. I state your name. Do solemnly affirm. That I will faithfully execute. The office of Coordinator of Social Media and Web Design. Of the Communications Department. Of the UMBC. Student Government Association. And will, to the best of my ability, promote and defend the interests and well-being of UMBC's undergraduate students. Right there.
Is it me?
Can I do this?
What? Because there's nothing.
Take out camera.
There's one standing outside. I don't know if
I thought you were saying like, I was like,
Well, I don't know. I was like, oh, you're probably.
apparently.
SGA page to double check
This way is in here. We're just gonna start anyway. So now we're on to the confirmation of Bailey Webb as member of the Executive Council. Welcome you to Senate. So Brenda, can you just again explain this position?
Yes, I can. So the executive council, there's 5 of them, and they're kind of like my arms and legs. So basically, there's a bunch of projects that I want to get done around campus, like short-term projects, things like like events like forums or like cleaning up the Fine Arts Amphitheater, like kind of small stuff like that I just don't have time to do. And so the executive council is kind of like people that I can assign projects out to based on their interests and what they're passionate about. We're expecting about 8 to 10 hours a week for this position, and they meet every other week, Wednesdays at 3 hours. And they meet with me weekly. I think that's everything.
Great, thank you. Alright, so Bailey, can you just give us a background about yourself and any experience you have in a position like this?
A position within leadership, I would say that's what this is. So right now I work for the Department of Defense. I'm the office manager within my office. I also have 3 younger siblings, so that's a leadership position right there. And I've done volunteering at summer camps. I was a camp counselor. And yeah. I have my job for about 2 years now, so good.
Department of Defense.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any interests or passions you want to talk about working alongside with executive work?
With relation to UMBC?
Within like projects you might be interested in.
I'm willing to take on anything, to be honest. I just like the fact that I'm able to help out with something. But I like
any projects that make accessibility on campus easier, and any processes that need to become more efficient, things like that.
Is Sean? Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, so you mentioned in your application that you're interested in reforming the shuttle system to the freshman block. Two questions really. Have you talked with parking services, and have you talked to other freshmen that have similar issues?
That's a good point. I tried to talk to parking services. They were not responsive at all. They didn't help me at all. I reached out to them multiple times, like via phone, anything else. Yeah, I never tried to walk down to their office, but I'm sure if I did, it would just be a bunch of waiting and whatnot. But they did say they were going to get back to me, and they never did. They told me that their leader was on leave, blah, blah, blah. But I did email them multiple times about it, and yes, I do know lots of freshmen I'm sure that have the same issue with me. A lot of them are walking for a while instead of taking the shuttle, which
I would do that.
yeah, which takes like basically the same amount of time, but like it'll be raining, they'll be like, I don't care, I just need to go to my car, I don't feel like waiting.
Kind of going off like that example, say you were able to like actually like meet with them, and you were actually able to get into like discussions. How would you go about like negotiating some sort of like agreement with this office in order to like help like freshman students especially?
I feel like the best way to get their awareness would be like get other people to stand behind me as well, and like because I don't know if they know that it's an issue or not. And I would also recommend that they, instead of just making parking available on campus, like here for people if they have a UMBC sponsored activity, to consider other things. Like sometimes people don't have UMBC type responsibilities, but they may have other things where they have to park here, and consider that. And then like just like the shuttle is fine, but I think they need to make it more timely. So things like that. Not like completely attack their system because like it's okay, but like just recommend improvements instead. That won't cost them anything.
So you talked about parking services and how your efforts to, I guess, make a difference in that aspect didn't really work out. I don't know about fruit, like, but because you gave up basically. If you were tasked with maybe something similar or something different that proved to be very difficult as that proved to be, what would you do differently, if anything, this time?
Okay, so I realized I didn't have like the title to make a difference. For example, if I went to their office, they would have been like, "Oh, who are you? Like, you're just a freshman. Like, you have to do what all the other freshmen do." So that's why I was sort of like hesitant about it, because I heard that it's not like very effective. But instead, I would go to them face to face instead of just using email or phone. I would go to them and then talk to them personally about it, because if you see someone face to face, it makes it more personable instead of just like an email, because that could be like anybody. But when you meet someone, it makes it more realistic, and it'll make it want to actually do something.
So you're saying if we approve you today that you will attack things more strongly and not give up?
Yeah, because I have that behind me. I feel like I have more like say so and things with this title instead of just being student without like the same. Because I don't know, I just feel like they were like, "Who are you? You're emailing us. Like, why should we listen to what you're saying?" Sort of like you just want us to give you special treatment, blah blah blah. But now I feel like they know that like I'm interested in making a change for the better of everybody, not just for me personally.
I'm just asking because even with our title, we still face a lot of challenges. So I'm just trying to make sure, or assure myself and everybody else, that if you do face any difficulties, that you won't give up, that you will keep going back. Because our title sometimes,
yeah, they still push back. That's
a lot.
Kind of like building off like that. One of the first things you mentioned, you were like discussing how to negotiate with these people, was like building up a lot of like student support, which I feel like can really provide that extra energy to like your title and the way you're
oh, that's a good point.
And so the reason why I feel like I wanted to ask that is like you probably won't be in this position like where you have like this opportunity to like organize like student collaborative effort. And you could probably achieve a lot, but I wanted to ask like how would you bring more students into this issue and
Well, I would start with the students that I know have this issue and then ask them to reach out to other people, and then we could get together and discuss like strategies of how to improve it, how to go about making it better, and like actually present it to them in a way that they're gonna want to change. You know what I mean? And then find the right people, because I don't even know personally if I was emailing the correct person about it. I just went on the website. So.
Hey, she got a planner. Y'all ready?
Do you know her or something?
No, I was just saying, like, I was asking this because, like, she has a really relevant issue that a lot of students deal with, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of literally,
Oh my God.
no, I feel like we, in this interview process, we also kind of figured out, like, a good action plan, I guess, like, where we can kind of think about, which I feel like is really important as part of this interview process.
But also, yeah, Bailey. Also, if you could confirm, definitely reach out to Candace and reach out to Brenda, because they will definitely. You're super
She's
passionate.
my style. Yeah.
Which is so awesome, right? So they got the connects. They'll help you get a plan set up, you know, and figure out how you can really like make a difference. And especially with your situation with work, I think that that's really relatable, and that's something that people are really taking into consideration. So
Yeah.
I think that actually could make some movement if you actually really push this. So I think just try to find some guidance. You know.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's what I needed. I have no clue about like the right behavior to go through to get to the right person.
I think people have been in it for a while. So.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Well, I move to approve SL 22-19-20. Oh, sorry.
I mean, okay, it's fine. I just wanted to say a nice thing about Bailey. So her application really stood out to us, especially because, and I don't know if you guys have it in front of you, but she talked about like designating the shuttle and then also like an on-campus parking pass, which, you know, nothing about that thing specifically because I don't know if that's possible, but it was such a specific solution and such a like, and it's something that could happen. It's really kind of realistic, and that's exactly what we're looking for, is something that you can accomplish within a year. And so, you know, she really stood out to us as someone that said something specific to a problem she was facing, which was actually rare in the applications. So, Bailey's awesome.
Thank you.
Well,
alright, keep going.
I move to approve SL 22-19-20.
Okay, all those in favor?
Oh no, it's not.
0 opposed, 0 abstaining, and
Right.
motion passes.
No, I don't.
Why do you guys?
It's like, oh my God.
Okay, Bailey, please go over your meeting. Oh. I'm just gonna right hand up. I'm just gonna repeat everything. Okay. So I state your name.
Bailey Webb,
Do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of Executive Council Member
Executive Council Member
of the UMBC
of the UMBC
Student Government Association
Student Government Association
and will, to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
promote and defend
promote and defend
the interests and well-being
the interests and well-being
of UMBC's undergraduate students.
of UMBC's undergraduate students.
This is very rarely she comes.
Yes. Okay.
No.
Maybe she should just do it in the front. Be like, Candace, are all the following confirmed?
Yeah, it's.
Oh, can you?
Jay.
Student affairs business.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. Your,
Oh, there's.
He died. Just like if you to remember.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure. Where's your name, please?
So like I can give you my email right now. Okay, yeah. I'm
Yeah, everybody needs their name plates.
Yeah, because he like was
We usually have like 5 to do.
Yeah.
Alright, well, now we're gonna move on to the confirmation of, sorry. Everyone, chill out a second. Alright, now we're gonna move on to the confirmation of Kendall McWilliams as coordinator of programming. Is it coordinator of programming or
Yeah.
coordinating student?
I just didn't, I must have not changed it when I moved to the book.
So can you just explain a bit about this position?
Oh, yeah. So again, this is another position within the SMST student organization. And so this one specifically deals with like programming events. So in the past, we've done events with multiple campus partners on at UMBC, like Career Center, UHS. We collab with campus life obviously a lot. And generally, they're just to obviously support student resources, opportunities. I expect we'll collab with like Scott, the treasurer, to do funding and financing, things like that. But again, just another person helping with programming, give resources out to student organizations, and kind of promote the SGA as a resource for student organizations. And specifically with Kendall's application, I thought his experience was very relevant to his position because of his experience at his previous institution in working with organizations and being a part of student orgs as well. So, yeah.
Candace, is he eligible?
Yes.
So,
Yes?
yes?
Yeah, you did great.
Okay, yes.
I mean,
So is it like
if
a
you
yes,
did.
like a serious yes?
Hold on, I'm looking, hold on. Don't go anywhere.
I sent you those.
These are the only two that you're doing
Right now, yeah.
today?
Yeah.
You're not doing your source person? Then yes, he's eligible.
Is eligible? Awesome. Alright. Kendall, so you can just give us a brief background about yourself and any experience you have in a position.
So, as you know, I'm Kendall McWilliams. I'm a chemical engineering major here at BioTrack. My previous institution, I was the engineering club president, the SGA club liaison, which is similar parallel to the coordinator of programming. And I was also the student government vice president. And in my previous institution, I spent a lot of time getting to know club leaders and helping them integrate their ideas into our system that they weren't quite accustomed to. And the best part about that position was being able to work with new people and helping them realize their goals and getting their events to actually happen rather than them just sit on the back burner. And getting them to effectively, not only effectively, but also efficiently transition their ideas from, oh, let's just rent one room and have an event in that small classroom to, hey, let's use SGA's outreach and use our other organizations to help promote the event to make it even larger. And maybe they'll rent out like a gallery area, size area, which would be similar to like the area in front of the bookstore in size. So that's where my experience in that comes from my other institution. And currently at UMBC, I am part of the AICHE club. And I talked with them about, if I were to be part of SGA, what could I do for you? If I were to do this, how could I help you? And I'm trying my best to just reach out to different clubs and see what they need, because in general, it'd be nice to be able to help them find what they need, talk to who they need to talk to in student government, because sometimes officers don't know who they should. So
I how would you help facilitate student organizations collaborating on events together? Like, I know the finance board likes to fund events that where multiple student organizations are working together to put on an event.
Ideally, if I could, I'd like to sit down with both their either president or any representative they could send from their club. Particularly, some clubs do eventually have event-based officers that we could collaborate with, and hopefully have them come to a mutual agreement of something that they may find interesting. For example, we have a club that likes to produce cultural events. Maybe we can find two clubs who want to run a cultural event together because they're both cultural clubs. Maybe a collaboration would be something good. So I would reach out to their officers in particular when I get wind of an event such as that.
I have a question. So, in your application response, it said that you'd like to help the student body properly learn how to submit paperwork and advertise. So how would that, it's kind of, it's really a hard question, but it's more like, how would that, like, what would that look like?
So what I typically find out, typically with student boards in general, is they'll gloss over the proper process and they won't actually learn how to do it. So ideally, granted we have a larger campus, we have a lot more club student organizations. I would literally, ideally have them sit down with me and I'm like, okay, this is what we need for application. Because if I were to be nominated to this, or appointed to this position, I would want to sit down and with them particularly say, okay, familiarize myself with the forms required, also familiarize them with the forms required, so they can work with me to submit them properly. Obviously, people don't get out themselves, but that's a hurdle. Like, for example, funding forms. Sometimes they don't realize, hey, look, we have to turn this in by like Friday at 5. And they try to submit it at Monday. It's like, no, I'll remind them, work with them to get them submitted by Friday at 5, or when I believe that's closing time for SGA. So helping them get those forms on time and filled out correctly. Because typically, at my older institution, I just look at them anyway, just because they'd be around, so I look at them, make sure they're correct, and contact the person or people on file just to make sure it's correct.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Is there a motion?
Move to approve SL 23-19.
All those in favor? One against, no opposed, no abstaining, and the motion passes. Woo! Alright, Kendall, can you just come over here with me? So just repeat after me and raise your right hand. So, I state your name, do solemnly affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of Coordinator of Programming of the UMBC Student Government Association and will, to the best of my ability, promote and defend the interests and well-being of UMBC's undergraduate students. Yeah, just write it down.
Move from the agenda. Talk about some initiative update.
Did everyone hear Reese's amendment?
Yes.
No, not on campus.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? It passes. So, you say,
Yeah, I was just real quick on the screen.
are you sharing initiatives?
No, initiative. Can you add it on your computer?
So for the parking,
Yeah.
advisory committee meeting, you said, do you think
how expensive it is to change the transit. Right.
Is it?
Yeah, it changes
How expensive?
it's like a couple thousand.
Damn.
To change what? To change what?
A transit route.
That's all right, that's
That's not that bad.
Well, I mean, like to add a new route, it's like 100 of them.
Right.
But to like edit one, it's not that much.
That's a long-term
You got that right.
Okay, here we go.
This is my newer application called Menu View. And my idea is, well, first, right, as it stands right now, it's already faster than the Dine on Campus website. Just because Dine on Campus, so there's a concept called caching where you store data that's already been viewed for later view. So Dine on Campus's website doesn't do that. So whenever someone views something, the menu for the day, say, it'll save it so the next person who gets it is faster. And in that way, this is a really quick way to just check really quickly what's for dinner at D Hall. And then also ingredients are showed by default. And what I want to do is be able to develop this so that users can store their allergies so that it would highlight items that either do or do not have their allergens. So, because I'm a peer mentor on my floor, one of my mentees is allergic to corn. And that comes up way more than you'd expect with cornmeal, corn syrup, and stuff like that. So to have a tool like that to simply, to really quickly look up allergens would be really helpful. And then I'm going to merge one of my other ideas called Food Notify into it so that you could favorite dishes in the dining hall and then it would email you if it's being featured that day. So that's like very ambitious, and that's going to be my goal for the next Yeah, this is just it's almost like a side project to me, and it just happens to fall in my purview as a senator.
So now you have a website to publish it to, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I've ever talked about this website before. Yeah, but this is called, well, I call it SG Apps, or it's apps.sga.umbc.edu. Which is that a question, or just like you
Kind of about salaries of employees.
Yeah, that one is very fast.
Let's search.
Candace Martinez Jones.
No way.
There it is.
Maybe Kowalski?
Jeez.
I would have to.
Type in our
Sorry.
Dino.
Right.
Put it up.
The dean.
That'd be dean of the college.
Of the university.
Is that the same thing?
Put Collins on.
Guys, the live stream can see this.
Yeah, this is from last year's data, so.
Yeah, it takes a minute for it to.
There he is.
You're gonna be in there if you're on payroll.
Yeah, this was.
6K? What's
As
position?
he was president.
He was president.
Search up Brenda.
Brenda, you're getting 6K?
Yeah.
No, not
Search
yet.
up Brenda.
It's your host.
Actually, Brenda is on here.
Yeah, because you this kind
Poverty.
Ooh, Sonia Deshpande.
I don't remember.
Probably one of
No,
those.
this is my favorite.
Deshpande is a very common one.
I hate this one. It makes me feel bad.
Reese made this to shame me. I know it.
That's absolutely amazing.
Add to mine.
So, what are you gonna do with this?
That's a great question.
What should we do with this?
Give it to Pat.
Oh, I had a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so in regards to the first thing that you
The
showed,
menu view?
the menu view, so what does it do for dietary restrictions? Because I have a lot of friends that might be like on keto or maybe watching calories and how you're like.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to do is to create like a user's profile function, because Dine on Campus doesn't really have that as well. So you would be able to log in and you could say, oh, I'm vegan, I'm vegetarian, I'm keto, something like that. And what I would have to, and what I'd do is go to highlight either the foods that do or do not, you can or cannot eat. And they do have all most the calorie stuff like that. So that's what I'm planning on doing. The only problem is that there's so much information that I can display. I need to find a good way to display to the user. Because the average user may not want to see everything, but the more healthy user may want to see as much information as they want. Yeah, so that's what I'm working on.
Are we doing all
Bible, which event he show. And what I can see is the exact times when I've eaten them, and the breakdown of what days and what periods.
So again, my question is, what are you gonna do with this?
So this actually, I did have a value proposition to be. It's for commuters or for students who want to see how much they utilize their meal plan and see if the next semester they want to move down the meal plan, move up the meal plan. And also just to see if they're making, eventually I want to see, like, analyze if they're making healthy choices. Like, you're going to Salisbury's every day, like, is your intestine system all right? And also, it's just like, it's a cool visualization.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So here's what I would say is, I think that you have some of these apps that are pretty stable.
Yeah, and some of them, so actually that's the other thing I've been doing. So I've been slowly, like, moving the ones that I think are more useful to the top. And these ones like are either not helpful or they're less stable, so I move them to the bottom.
Yeah. So I wonder if this. I think some of these, like, I think they're all great. I think some of them are more useful than others. Like salary search. That's just nosy.
One note.
This is
It's
good.
the most useful app.
So I think the. Ooh, what is this?
It's a trash.
So napkins go in the compost. Also napkins in general go to compost because they're so recycled that they can't
Yay!
recycle.
Okay. So I think that if you have these things, why aren't you telling students that you have?
My idea is that I always create these and I like kind of forget about them. So some of them are to a state, like salary search, very stable. I could add more, I could add less. And a lot of these are to a certain degree stable, but I'm always hesitant to let people see them. So I'm just so scared of what they're going to think about me.
I think menu view and menu map. What was the other one? Menu view and I think map is great. It's amazing.
I need to add more because it's just like from the poster.
Wait, why are there locations in the garage?
I don't think
You can sleep in your car.
Oh, so this is crowdsourced.
Eventually, yes. I would love to.
So I think can you go back to the main page? Yeah. I think meal breakdown is great. I think menu view is great. I think wasted tuition calculator is great. I think map is great. I mean, I think these are things that if you really wanted to read, you should just be like, hey students, here's some stuff we made for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we could work with our internal department or competition to better give them.
Yeah.
Where was the map?
The map.
Would you be open to adding like the accessibility?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. That would be easy.
I'm trying to work on rating that.
I think like an accessibility rating system, like we rate this 3 out of 10.
That.
That's a little
Because the map that we currently have, I'm going to show you this one. This one.
It changed all.
It's not even a map, it's just like, I don't know what it is.
Why are you doing this?
Where is it sourcing these words from?
Just some random like dictionary.
I like this.
There's some
Yeah.
just 13 words.
Yeah, that's the other thing I'm going to say. Is
I think there is a way to like actually.
if there was something that was like came up that was offensive, then
For the most part.
someone might be
Blackish.
that's hard.
And then you can also you can just edit yourself.
Under breath.
I don't know what the usefulness of this is.
That one was just like a fun project that I just did. Like I'm bored, I want to make something.
Right, but I think that the things that are useful, like when you make them and you think they're stable, you put them out there, and if they break, you fix them, just like anything else, right?
That's
So, I think it's really cool.
But also if anyone ever has any ideas, we can try to work together too.
I like my
Accessibility definitely need to talk about.
Oh, I like waste stores. I mean waste.
Yeah, I'm trying to partner with the Office of Sustainability so we can actually get like real pictures.
Okay.
Like
So,
actually, it's like the Salisbury's container. What do you do with it?
Okay,
Yeah.
so I hate to end this conversation, but we do have
We'll
a confirmation.
talk about it later.
Is Lamia here? Is she not coming again?
I haven't heard from her, so she should be here.
Okay, well, Maya's here, so. Okay, well, let's just move on to the confirmation of Maya Parker as my right
SGA.
Special project. Okay, so
was I mean, it's my fault.
It is. Overview of the position.
Yeah.
So vectors.
You need to finish.
Yikes.
Okay, anyway, so this is the Director of Special Projects position. So, the intention of the Special Projects Department is to find people and places outside of SGA that are working on things that SGA might be able to help with or are invested in or are interested in. So things like sustainability and climate change are projects that people outside of SGA are really invested in and have actually organized around. So not to say that everyone has to be in SGA to make change, but for the people that aren't in SGA, we can definitely offer resources and connections. And so the intention of the entire Special Projects Department is to find those people. And so with the Director of Special Projects position, we were looking for someone who's well connected around campus, that knows a ton of people. Am I always perfect for that? The Director of Special Projects is also the department head for 2 people. One of whom is the Associate Director of Legislative Affairs, who is Jordan, who was confirmed last week. And then the Associate Director of Community Engagement, who will be working with Arvidas and Catonsville related staff, who I don't think has been confirmed yet. No, has not been confirmed yet. And so one of my responsibilities would be to lead those 2 people in the work that they do, as well as her own special projects if she chooses to perform them. And then, now I forgot what I was going to say. So the time commitment for this position is 8 to 10 hours, just like the other directors, a week. And the directors all meet with me weekly, and with the department weekly.
Thank you. So Maya, if you could just give us background about yourself and any experience you have in a position like this.
Okay, so like Linda said, my name is Maya. I'm a sophomore here. I am an English major with an elementary education certificate. I'm also a Sherman Scholar. I'm in the Honors College. I'm in the Shriver LLC. I think that's it. I had to, there's other stuff, but this has been important. And then the experience that I have experienced, of course it's not a direct comparison, but I've experienced in the classroom, so like working with people, directing people and managing people under me is something that happens as we do a lot of work in the education department. And then being organized is something that teachers have to automatically learn, and then being able to like think of cultural relevance, which is really important in this position when you're listening to other people's like opinions and perspectives on how the school is. So I think all of that qualifies me for this position and allows me to slide right.
How would you go about finding others outside of SG that can partner with?
Okay, so I talked to a couple people that are here today about that. Following social media is very important because people feel more comfortable putting their opinions on social media. Just because if they're not speaking directly with someone from SGA and they feel like they have to censor themselves. So I have started following different UMBC pages so that I can monitor that. Going to club meetings and letting them know that I am available if they ever want to come to me, and introducing myself to put a face to the position is also really important, I think. I know that dinner with friends is something that happens, and I don't know necessarily if like that would be a really good way. I don't want to take away from whoever plans that has plans, but I thought that would be really cool to listen to people's opinions there and just let them know it's a free, open space that we won't judge their opinions. And then also I talked to, like I said earlier, I talked to a lot of my classes. Apparently I'm a really good person to complain to. So I've heard a lot of different opinions about the school just within my first year here. So I'm hoping to like just use the relationships that I have to allow me to get into more spaces. That's a lot. I apologize.
Are there any special projects that you personally have
One thing that I really thought of, there's a couple things. I know accessibility is a really, really hot topic right now, so I think that would be one of the first things that I would try to do, just because, like the fact that you mentioned that, I thought that was a really good idea. But also, it's bothered me for a really long time that on the second floor of the Sherman building, which is supposed to be the accessibility route, there is no automatic button for that gender-neutral bathroom. So I've witnessed people like try to get in, and like I would have to open the door for them, but they should be able to do it themselves if they ever want to, like, to establish independence. Like they should. Some people don't want to be dependent on others, and that really limits them. Also, the elevators break a lot, but I've learned that it costs a lot of money to fix elevators, so we would have to work around that. So that was one thing that I think people would be really appreciative of. Another thing I've noticed that the UMBC talks a lot about working with Baltimore City through community service, but I work really closely with the Schreiber Center, and a lot of people actually don't volunteer in the city. They more so volunteer in the county or on campus. While it's important to volunteer on campus and work to build our own student population up, it's also important to show Baltimore City that we are a school that they could get into, that they can come to one day, and that they can rely on, instead of just using it as a propaganda tool.
Peyton, please.
Coming on, I speak too much.
So Candace, is she eligible?
Yes.
So, just explaining why Maya does not have an application up on the spreadsheet. So, Maya applied literally like the day after we put out applications, and we made a mistake on the Director of Special Projects application form. And so, I went in to change the mistake because it said admin assistant, I think, and then all of Maya's responses got erased.
I still have them.
But Maya still has them. And so I have them too, but they're geared towards the questions that we asked admin assistants because the application was wrong. So if you, like, on the application, like, spreadsheet that you have, the questions are really similar to what you've already been asking, like what would the Director of Special Projects like to work on. But definitely feel free to ask her kind of the questions that you got already from the applications because you don't have one for her. That makes sense. It was not her fault, it was mine.
Well, does anyone have any other questions?
I have a question. Hold down. What mistakes, if any, have you made in your previous leadership positions, and what have you learned from them?
I think one and the same mistake. So there have been times where I sort of take the lead on things because sometimes it's hard to trust others to do what you have like in your mind. But over time I've been able to learn to delegate and just trust people and just try to explain what's in your mind. But I think that was one of the biggest mistakes I made, is not allowing, like, being too independent. But there are also times where I've been too dependent on others. Like, I've delegated too much and things didn't get done properly. So I think that I found a pretty good middle ground in allowing people to do independent projects. Like, if someone that's working under me has an idea, allowing them to sort of take the lead on it, while also supervising them and making sure it gets done right. And also allowing them to take part in my ideas and not just blocking them out. Because I have a very strong personality. I like things done in a very efficient way. And I have learned over time to allow others to, like, also take part in what I have planned. So, like, I think that's a really good question. That's the biggest mistakes I've made, reflecting on that.
I have a question.
Yes.
So you mentioned how students often don't go out of their way to volunteer in the city. So what are the reasons that you believe, like, why is that? And also, like, what steps do you think you could take to, like, help alleviate that?
There are a couple reasons that I think people don't volunteer in the city. One is obviously the way that Baltimore City is portrayed. I worked at New Student Day, and I was talking to a student about, like, how I volunteer in the city a lot, and her dad came up and it was like, oh, you must have, like, taken self-defense classes, you must know how to fight, all of that. That's what he said to me. And I was like, no, it's really not that bad. Like, I'm working with elementary school students, but even then, like, you don't encounter that in the city. So I noticed those hurdles, like, people are fearful to go into the city. But also sometimes it's hard to get out there. There's a lot of traffic. Depending on where you're going in the city, you need a car. Transportation is not the best going into the city. And I believe UMBC Transit, it takes you around, but that's you have to wait quite a while to get there. And so I think that that's a hurdle, but also class schedules. A lot of the community service opportunities that Schreiber Center has is during the week or like on a Saturday where it's like all day. And so schedules, like you have to keep that in mind, and then that 30-hour like requirement can scare people as well. So I think the way I would try to tackle that is people have been attempting to do this, but really breaking down the stereotypes of Baltimore City. Another way is bringing the schools here. I work a lot with the school system. So like bringing the community service here, like bringing Baltimore City to the campus so that people can't use transportation or schedules as an excuse. So I just organized a middle school visit with the Sherman Scholars. It was Golden Ring Middle School, and they did a panel with the Sherman Scholars. They did a lunch at Commons, and then they took a quick little tour around UMBC, and we only really needed volunteers from 11 to 1, but that was a short time for them to experience and learn from people from Baltimore City, while also getting like their community service in and really learning like why community service is so important. So, and I think it checks off a lot of the hurdles, and maybe will also allow people to really break down that fear they have of the city. So, did that answer your question fully?
Oh, yes. Okay. It's not really a question, but I just want to say that this could be a good opportunity to make the Schreiber Center more visible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not aware of, I mean, I know what you guys do, but I'm not aware of the different things that you guys are involved in. And maybe you can help get SGA more involved in community service. I don't know if they want to, but it would be nice if some of us could participate in more community service, especially the things that you are familiar with, or just random things in the city.
And they all aren't like, so for example, there's a P14 visit coming up. That's like a day, and you only have to volunteer like sporadic times throughout the day. So there are opportunities for people to volunteer just like once, like on an off the chance basis, instead of having to volunteer for like through the practicum for like a whole semester. So I think putting those out there for like anyone at UMBC to volunteer for might also help, instead of keeping them within certain circles, which I have seen people do. So, do you have a question for earlier? I don't know if not answered. Okay.
Move to approve SL 24.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Zero opposed, okay.
What?
Did you see that?
Yeah, he waited.
He waited.
He said, I don't know about you.
Maya, you can come over here.
Oh.
Don't come this way.
I won't.
I
Sorry.
think I did.
I second.
You second. You did it.
Oh, Maya. I'm sorry.
Repeat after me. Okay, guys, we're doing I'm out of breath. We're doing confirmation right now. So, I state your name. I, Monica Park, do solemnly affirm.
Sorry.
I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute
The office of Director of the Special Projects Department.
What?
Sorry, let's do it again. Director of the Special Projects
The
Department.
office of Director of the Special Projects Department.
Of the UMBC Student Government Association.
Of the UMBC Student Government Association.
And will, to the best of my ability, promote and defend the interests and well-being of UMBC's undergraduate students.
Oh, because it's like red.
How was that one?
So, gonna assume Malia isn't coming. Did she send you an email or anything? Okay, so now we're just gonna move on to senator updates.
As an SGC update?
SGC updates, yeah. Or do you have any initiative updates? Yes, I know Hidayah has one.
Oh, Hidayah, you want to go first?
Sure, it's a senator update. So I guess like one of the things I'm working on is like about the freshman lot.
Yeah.
So if you have like any complaints of like experience you've had in the past, you can like give me a statement. Because I'm meeting with the assistant director of transportation, like UMBC Transit, and I'm talking to him about like the route to the freshman lot and just other things. Like someone at office hours today complained that that transit didn't run to Walmart and Arundel Mills during the weekday. So I'm just like talking to the assistant director of UMBC Transit on Wednesday at 3:30. So like anyone have statements or anything they want me to tell them, or even if you just like want to tag along, just tell me.
I'm actually glad you said that because if anyone has any office hour updates, that was also the time.
There's actually something that we both were talked to about, to put wrong turn signs on Center Road, because a lot of people go the wrong way. Like we way more, you know.
On the one-way street.
Yes. I've seen it happen. Huh?
Is the road that goes in?
Is it the one that goes by
Oh,
the
oh,
residence
like
hall or the one that goes past?
Center Road, it goes like through.
If you do it at night,
Yeah, they do. I've seen it.
They turn into it. I was
I've seen it happen.
I've seen it happen.
I've done it once before myself.
Yeah, someone complained about that at office hours.
Oh,
When me
okay.
and Michelle was
Is there a do not enter sign there?
she said we should put some, because I don't think there is.
There's no wrong way sign.
Yeah, so
I
she
don't.
said that we need wrong way of signs. If she's seen it happen.
That's an excellent thing.
Yeah.
That would be something to, what's the?
We can do.
What's the group that talks about stuff on campus? Like, that was really bad. That talks about like, signage and the facilities group.
Landscape.
Maybe it's
and
landscape or stewardship? Do they do
But that
that?
sounds more like environmental.
That's more environmental. They did signage with the wildlife.
So who else? So there has to be a group that
It'd
talks
be
about that.
facilities.
It'd be facilities and parks.
Man, I
But
sure wish you
also,
could send
like,
in work requests.
I also stop it. But also, so these are, so unbeknownst to many, UMBC roads are state roads.
Oh.
Yes.
So do we talk to state?
So we don't have to maintain them
So
ourselves.
like, there, yes,
Now
because that's a traffic sign. And so there may be more things just outside of UMBC that, but I think that a good place to start would be, I mean, actually a good place to start would be the police department.
Do you want to tackle this or do you want to tackle this?
Wait, Matt.
Or do you want to tackle it together?
We can tackle it.
I think that's a great
Yeah, it's a good
initiative.
idea.
Who's all in
That's,
all?
I mean, that's a
I
great
can't remember her
initiative.
name.
And then you got that from your office hours?
Yes.
I like it.
That's all.
Office hours, they work.
Sharon was also
Oh yeah.
Sharon was there.
Okay, we'll tackle this
You
later.
want to talk about your office hours,
I'll
Karen?
CC both of you guys.
We were there together.
Yes,
We
there
were
was
together.
all of us.
Oh, so you guys had like a similar experience.
Who am I part of?
Can we not use the proof thing? Can we not do
Ruby
that?
said that she had some SGCs updates.
Oh, yeah.
We use the proof.
You didn't office hour update?
I asked in the Slack. Should I ask you to?
Slack.
What was the question?
Someone came to me in my office hours about why so many places on campus are closed. And I said I think it was due to budgetary restraint. But
Yep.
is that like the main?
It is. That's the main thing.
That's the main
It's a
thing.
cost benefit. I think you put that in there. It's how many people are on campus swiping versus how much does it cost to person a stand and make the food. Like, what they have to sort of they have to get to an equilibrium spot or like a spot where they're not losing too much money or not losing any money. And yeah, so salsaritas. Now I guess question could be like, could they change what's open? Because it's always Salsaritas, right? It's always Salsaritas. So could they change what's open? So like, this is the thought I had. It's like 1 month it's Salsaritas, the next month it's
We would
Halal
love
Shack,
that.
the next month it's whatever. Like, as opposed to just always Salsaritas.
It's not.
We would love
What's the
that.
most popular food place on campus?
Well,
Halal Shack.
for Reese, it's Kruger's.
Oh, I almost go late night. It's like 70%.
So, I don't know. That's an excellent question.
Also, I was told like Halal Shack would never be open on the weekends, which sucks. But like since it's like I don't know what's the right word, like contract or like but maybe a franchise, but like, yeah, I don't know. So I was told that it never would happen.
You never seen that?
Oh no.
Never seen that.
Who said that? Like,
Well, my roommate was like the one who vouched for like Halal Shack to come on campus. So I'm pretty So I'm pretty sure that she I don't want to say anything, but I'm pretty sure like she asked and they said that it probably like would never happen. Just cause like probably also like the budgetary reasons.
Are there any other office hour updates? Alright, now we're gonna go to SGC updates.
Wait, I had an initiative. We already passed it, or can we still?
Well, I think only Reese did his initiative.
Yeah, Mr. Eddie. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do.
I was gonna talk about my
Initiative?
meeting that I had kind of,
Is it about your initiative?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, then we'll just do SGCs after.
no initiative updates?
Oh,
No, you're gonna share it.
yeah, okay, so, I'm kind of working on this community initiative in which I'm trying to increase, or trying to help us jumpstart increasing our visibility on campus. So, I created a Google form that I'm gonna share with you guys later in the week, which you guys can like fill out in regards to doing a group photo shoot where we all have like a theme, and the format has different options that you guys can choose from. So that once we're all in like accordance, and also I've been in conversation with the 2 photographers that we have. I'm just trying to confirm their availabilities and see if like there's like those are their availabilities for like every week. So once I get that, you can select from those options. Oh, and also I've been in contact with Retriever Essentials because I'm trying to work on doing a food drive towards the end of the semester, to help with food insecurity, and probably gonna see if I can partner up with different clubs that are also trying to tackle that issue. But I'm in conversation with someone that works.
So I got in contact with the vice provost for accessibility and then the manager for accessibility and something else. I forget her title, it's long. And I pretty much just went to talk to her just so I can get an overview of what initiatives are currently happening, what they're thinking about, who's doing what, when and where, just so Kai and whoever, like we don't recreate the same things. Yeah. And then I also wanted to talk to her about just different things that we've been seeing. So like automatic doors. So basically she told me that we don't have to have automatic doors if the doors are in compliance, which means that if they are air pressure doors of 5 pounds, magnetic doors. And I don't know exactly what that means for people who are in wheelchairs and can't open the door, as Maya said. I don't know if that's taken into account, but all the doors on campus are in compliance, she says. She says that our buildings don't have to be accessible, they have to be in compliance, which is what I just said, which is the 5-pound doors, elevators, even if one is broken, if there's another one, then that's in compliance. I never knew that. So there's some things that we've been talking about that, not that it doesn't matter, but they don't.
Brings us leverage to tell them and then change it.
I mean, yeah, which, I think there's a difference in language, right? Like, so, there are things, in compliance means that they're doing the legal requirement.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that, right, it doesn't mean that it's accessible, for everyone. And also, depending on the age of the building, there may be things that they have not updated because they don't have to, because they are grandfathered into older requirements. So, like, any, renovations that they do on a building, then they have to bring up that building up to ADA compliance, and so sometimes people just don't renovate buildings because it would cost them so much to bring it up to code for ADA. Yes, there is a difference. But I guess the space that you can occupy is, well, I know you're doing what you need to do, but is that, can you do more, right?
And then she also told me that there's a 10-year plan in place and being developed. I don't know what that means for our initiatives, but I will inquire more about that. She says that SDS operates under a budget which is like a state agency capital budget, so we have to think about that when creating our initiatives. And she also informed me that there is an accessibility complaint form that is on the SDS website. So I know Kai wants to create that, right? So now that we know that it's already there, we don't have to bother about that anymore. And then she also gave me, well, basically, her job is to manage everyone's complaints and things that she sees as hazards. And what she does is work with Otis Elevator and facilities management. So if we see something wrong, we ourselves can work with them. And she didn't give me much hope as far as how much leverage she can hold, because with elevators, they are expensive. So besides her complaining, I don't know what else we could do. So I'll talk to her more about that and facilities management to see what we can do about that. And I also scheduled a walk around campus to see how accessible it is. So I've gone on one meeting now. I have like 3 more scheduled, and I've taken pictures just to show you guys when I finish my research, I guess. And that's it for my SDS initiative, I think.
Any other initiatives?
I have a small update that might interest you guys. So I talked to a few professors on campus, like 2, and then they said they would potentially be interested in doing extra credit if we put a survey together asking, UMBC, asking their students if they want to, I personally was going to put like a bunch of questions about my initiative on there, but if you guys want to throw in questions about your initiatives on the education situation, of what the undergraduate student body feels about things, the way you guys are doing your initiatives and all that, then you can tell me. I will compose a survey and then we will hand it out to students for extra credit.
Please make it on qualtrics so it looks more official.
Wait, the way they feel about what?
Like I was gonna personally ask if if you were to do discounts, if businesses were to do discounts, would you be even interested in going? What kind of change do you want to see? Are you happy with transit the way it is right now? Do you usually go to RV days or Kingsville and stuff like that? That's tailored to my own initiative. But if you guys want to do something that's tailored to your own initiative, and make like a huge survey that you could put out for extra credit.
Can you ask my teacher if she's willing to do extra?
Yeah.
Did you ever take the freshman STEM survey like bio or chem?
Yeah, basically kind of like that.
I want it to look like that, so it looks more official.
Yeah, I talked to Rachel Crane. She has a lot of students. She said she would do it. Huh? Sociology. Yeah.
That's a good cross section of students.
if there's a way to like gauge student like opinions without like, you know, putting a group, because no one's gonna fill out that group form with emails, right?
Yeah.
But if there's extra credit involved, then they're definitely gonna like do it.
Yeah. I like that idea a lot.
That's awesome. Let's go.
Are there any other initial updates?
Relax, man.
Yes.
So, is it necessarily like an initiative update or something I want to kind of like present and like discuss about?
Is this officers? Can we talk about that in announcements?
Okay.
So I also have some.
Alright.
Any other initial
Never mind.
updates? Hi, is that your man?
Okay, so this past summer, a bike share committee formed, and I got into contact with them last week, and they're going to be starting a pilot program to see how efficient this program. I forgot the vendor. I know it starts with an S and it looks so much, but that's besides the point. They asked if SGA could send a form? No. Google Forms? Something like Alteryx. To see how sustainable it would actually be. So getting that to the undergrad population. That could be under that.
Yes. Connections.
There we go. I didn't connect that just now.
Wow.
Alright, cool.
How much would it cost to like use the bike share program? Or like, yeah.
They never emailed me back.
You know what you could
Historically, it's been free.
you can like a little Instagram story of like checking out a bike. I really do it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's what's kind of like.
I do like the bike. A bike.
Okay, any other initial updates? Okay, now we're gonna go on to SGC update. Yes.
Got one update, neighbor relations committee, so there's a bunch of people who came in from Arbutus area who wanted to talk to us, and one of the big points that came up during the meeting was the fact that a lot of housing units, or there's a lot of housing units are housed for students, so for adults, and there's a law in Baltimore County that you can only house 2 people per housing unit.
2 unrelated.
Right, 2 unrelated people who are adults per housing unit for renting, right? And people are frustrated that there's not or that they're frustrated that there are so many cars like in the communities because of how many people are living in all the houses. So right now, from what it sounded like in the meeting, is they're kind of at a tipping point as far as the frustration goes, and they might start trying to enforce that in the future. So if you have friends or you're planning on living in those houses, just be very cautious. Talk to your friends.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
That seems to be, I don't think it's a student's fault in that case. It seems more like a land.
Right. So the reason they haven't done anything yet is because you can't, or it's not fair to displace the students, right? Because a lot of them don't know about this, or like it could upend their entire academic semester. Right. So there actually is going to be a committee in the coming weeks to talk about how to address the problem. So I'll keep you all updated.
Is there a way, sorry, I have a question for campus. Is there a way we could start something on campus, like a facility for students, to house students off campus?
What do you mean? Like OCSF?
Wait, can you repeat the
Do they provide housing options for off-campus housing?
They don't provide options, but they connect students.
It's like a website where you, like landowners.
Yeah, but I think like the biggest thing was that people are breaking Baltimore law by, they don't understand, like, obviously like the people who are renting them those homes aren't telling them like, oh, you can't have more than 2 people who are unrelated to there. So I think, like I was there too, the biggest thing they were saying is like,
this is what like our friends said when I talked to them. They said that what their renters are telling them is that they can only have 2 people on the lease, but if 4 people are paying, that's fine, right? Which that defeats the entire purpose of the law. So I don't think that's really gonna fly. So
doesn't make any sense.
right, but that's what they're telling us. That's what they're telling us. Okay. Well, no, it's like the lease only has 2 names on it, so the document has 2 names officially, but there's 4 people living there, 4 people paying rent. Right. So it's almost like the other 2 aren't really on the documentation. Like they're not officially living there.
Which is a precarious student for a student to be in.
Right.
Because they have no legal claim to that space. Right? That's why whenever you live somewhere, you should always be on the lease. So like if you don't have a legal claim to that space and something happens between you and your roommate, they could be like, bye, kick you out, call
Can you
cops,
get like
trespassing.
renter's insurance without a lease?
No.
You're totally screwed.
Yeah, so I understand why people might do it for financial reasons, but there are risks associated with it that make it a precarious situation. There is a website that off-campus student services has where people in the community can post listings for apartments. But yeah, that's the thing. There's not more than 2 unrelated people can, and if you have to get, and it's a single family dwelling, so then if it's not a single family dwelling, you're getting it rezoned, and that's the whole process, so.
So like, if there's 3 rooms in the house, 3 people that aren't related to each other can't live there.
Correct.
What if they're like a cousin? I just asking hypothetically. I live on campus. But like, what's like related? Like.
I don't know the official. So that's just what the conversation.
That's my
is.
cousin.
That's my cousin.
No.
That's my wife.
Right.
Interesting.
I mean, you can call it partner.
Yeah, I mean that's just my
If you're
distant
really pressed,
cousin.
you're probably gonna join.
That's my grandmother's
Say 2 completely
niece's
different
aunt.
people.
That's a mom.
How can they check? Like,
So what's happening right now is like residents in the like they have a list of houses that residents have reported have more than 2 people living in.
so this
Right, because
is like,
the people in Arbutus are the ones who are fed up with this, right? So like they are contacting like the county executives and people and being like, this isn't cool. You know, you guys need to do something about this. And yeah, they do have a list, or they said that they have a list of like certain places that have been reported to have not or could be violating this law, right? So.
and this is in just Arbutus, or this is like extended to like.
Well, it's a Baltimore County law,
Okay.
so.
But I mean like the residents.
Well,
Was it the business association or who came in?
it was just during the neighbor relations committee, so.
Maybe the homeowners association.
Are they doing anything to enforce it like anytime soon?
Well, that's what the meeting that's coming up is about. So like,
It's gonna be juicy.
So this is a great example of town-gown relations. That phrase is town, that is the city, gown is the university because you wear robes to graduate. So lots of universities have committees like this that engage in town-gown relationships. This is a prime example of something that comes up between universities and the communities that surround them.
You see all the whole College Park stuff.
Oh, I know.
There's a bunch of like noise related complaints, so they passed some like really bad anti-student legislation about like public social gatherings or whatever. What? It was something insane.
It's very recent.
It was like literally last week.
Don't you love it?
University of Maryland.
Alright, any other questions? Any other SGs? Wait, I know you got an SGC. Okay. Let me ask an SGC.
You can scroll through it so they can see what.
Even though it is
Let us scroll all the way down so that they can.
Right here? No, that's
No,
on here, which kind of applies to everybody, regardless of your major, is the first thing under notes is the arbitrary and capricious grading policy, and that basically means it's grading that.
Where would be capricious then?
Where did it go?
You
Where
passed
is
it.
the top?
Oh, it's at the top, my bad. Sorry.
If you guys want to see the actual form, I forgot to link it on there, but I can link it. It's
I like the second page.
just under notes, like it says the word. It's the first highlighted page. But scroll down a little. Don't scroll down. This is my fault. Alright. Basically, what that means is grading based on, I guess, a rubric or a rule that's not written down in the syllabus and wasn't made clear to students. So if you get a grade back maybe after the semester and you think that you should have an A or you're graded unfairly, then you have 2 weeks to appeal the grade. So you have to contact your professor, then contact the dean of your department, and then it goes up to the vice provost after that? And they have to approve or deny your claim. The important thing is that you only have 2 weeks to do so. And then another important change was the grade review committee used to be 4 people, but now it's 5. So before there were many ties and that was a problem. So now that it's 5 people, it kind of cuts out the possibility of a tie. And yeah, so if you want to go through all of the different classes and the different courses and the questions that came up during the meeting, you can go through them. Because there are many courses like the SGA course or whatever that professors are trying to implement. They don't have, I guess, the requirements that the committee requires. So if you maybe were looking for a course and you don't see it, or you don't see it by next semester, this could be some reasons why. So we look through the courses, question them, and then we table time depending on what they lack. But the arbitrary and capricious grading, I think that's the most important. Unless you're looking forward to certain courses next semester.
Any other SGC updates? Alright, well, since there's no more updates, we're just gonna move on to, I just lost the agenda. Got it.
Group Patrol 15.
15. Very good. 2 announcements. So, this way we can start.
Okay, hello everybody. I'll be brief. Just a quick conversation I wanted to have. So one of the things that we kind of set as a goal as an entire SGA body this year was to be very involved in some capacity with student orgs, because student orgs are like really good places where you literally have these like micro communities of students coming together for like similar interests. But often in many of these student orgs, they might also have as well similar concerns. And so one of the things I wanted to bring up as a possibility is that in combination with like your office hours, we were also thinking of maybe having some sort of like community hour kind of thing. It wouldn't be like a weekly kind of thing, but it would be sort of a an understanding maybe that like you could like begin trying to get yourself more involved with like student orgs, the ones that you can attend, and kind of being as a person that you can relay information from them to. As Jay's saying, we can kind of think about what can we actually work on with them, especially if like maybe some of your initiatives you require a lot of student support to get pushed through. I feel like this would be a really great place to kind of like source that support as well. It's not like, this is just wouldn't say per week, because I understand like y'all hella busy. Maybe like something like a month, like 2 board meetings a month or something like that. And the whole purpose is not necessarily for showing up, but for being able to like communicate with them. Perhaps some of the things that you're doing here, you're hearing about in SGCs, they might be more interested here. They could be stakeholders that have an interest in like what are we talking about on campus, like accessibility or for student dining or any one of those things. So I don't know what y'all think. It's not like said, it's just I want to have a conversation about it.
And to add on to that, especially with people who come up to your tables during office hours, maybe like ask them if they're involved in any clubs on campus, and that can be like a method for you to go to their event. You don't have to even necessarily be, because I don't want it to seem like you're going to a club that you're only interested in. You want to go to all sorts of clubs, like clubs that we've never like put our foot in. So if someone comes to your table and they're like from, I don't know, Russian club, like, hey, are you guys willing to have a senator come down? And if they say no, then you say no. If you say yes, then you can go down.
So would you email them and then you'd be like, does anyone want to do this? Or so would you email people and then be like, throw it out to us, like, does anyone want to do this, or do we define it ourselves?
I think it'd be better if like you pick like what you want to be involved in. I know it involves you sending an email, but I mean, for the sake of like you wanted to build a relationship with an org, it'd be worthwhile that you are actually interested in what you're meeting about.
Yeah, because it doesn't want to seem like a forced thing.
Like I said, this is just a conversation. We're not like actually like telling y'all to do this right now. Like we just want to like bring this to you and think like, well, how do you see yourself in this? Or how do you want to like envision it or something like that? Do you want to do it at all?
Some kind of some form of boundary.
I think that's a great idea. I think another thing we could do with that is to contact like the student organizations themselves and be like, hey, would you guys like to have any, SGA representatives come to your meetings, talk to people,
Do you think it's better to have this as like a subcommittee of people who are interested in doing this? Or do you want to have it be everybody?
I mean, if we wanted visibility,
I would like for everybody to, for the sake of wanting visibility, but also, I mean, as one of like your responsibilities as a senator is advocating and engaging with students. And I think it's almost unfair to expect, although this is open, it's almost unfair to expect students and student members to come here to voice themselves. I think it's much more on our part to go to where they're at. Do you want to say something?
Better go on.
I actually like the idea, but I'm also wondering if we could, if there's possibility, is there SGA email?
SGA?
If we could send out a mass email kind of explaining what SGA is, I mean, they should kind of know, but still, saying what SGA is, what we do, and asking if they would want us to come out to talk to them, and if so, what topics do they want to cover? So that we can go into it prepared. Because what if we walk in and have a question and we're all like, I don't know. I would like for us to have some kind of, I guess, basis for why we're coming, and what they would want to talk about. So that's a way of us opening the floor for them to, I guess, discuss, throw to us their ideas for what they want to discuss. Like what's important for their board.
I'm just remembering this week, I accidentally emailed all the SGA people. And the one guy said,
oh, yeah.
please remove me from the
Yes.
So like, I guess would be emailing them like be the way to like contact all of them, because I feel like UMBC has like a lot of clubs, and even if we like went to 2 a month, like we can't obviously get in contact with all of them. Like I don't know, there's like a lot of clubs I didn't even know existed, like Rifles and Pistols Club. Earlier today in the office someone came in, he was like, I'm from the Rifles and Pistols Club. I was like, I didn't even know that club
We lie,
existed.
like you got the comics in them.
That's why
So how would we like reach out to like
I mean, we have Zane.
Would we do
think what I kind of want to like push for is that there's a ton of clubs on campus, and I think of how like finance board has a liaison system. Every person on the liaison system, I think, has like 50 student reps that they have to like quote unquote communicate with. I don't know how they do that. What I was suggesting and thinking is not necessarily like trying to get quantity of student reps, but more rather think about what are like natural partners that you think would like be able to come alongside like an initiative that you have or a thought that you have, or like, geez. You know,
There's
like,
only 3 though, we're in
I'm still funny. I'm still working on it.
Okay.
That was too much copy pasting.
because like the whole goal is advocacy and initiative, right? And so like, how do you what's a natural partner that you can find in a student loan, like for example, or what student loans you feel like are dealing with issues that you can come alongside. That doesn't mean, oh, I'm gonna join scuba club because scuba club. It's more about like who needs help, who wants to like have their voice heard, and how can you like meet up. I think so. It's more about being strategic of your time and who you're investing it with, as opposed to just trying to do all student loans. I feel like that's way too much considering you're already doing SGCs, and in part, finance board already has this liaison system, which is covering some ground. But I think we can be much more direct with like what we do.
Gotcha. But can this be a way for the student body to get involved with our initiatives, even if they're not clear partners? You know?
Yeah.
If we continue to talk to the same people, then we're not really being as visible as we want to be. And this is a good way, I think, for us to make new friends out of it. That's why I suggest like the whole mass email, see who responds and who's relevant. Because maybe some orgs do want to talk to us, but they don't know how to do it, and this might be a good way to come on board.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. We can do that like too as well.
Well, I just wondering if we could
Anyways, it's just a conversation,
Did you
but
say end?
pretty much.
but yeah. I think that kind of summarizes it.
I don't have any announcements. Does anyone else have any announcements?
I do. Jared. SDS building, or I forgot what they are. Department. They're having an open house on October. I'll let you guys know. 20 something.
What is this? Student disability services.
Any other announcements? Just bring that.
So, last year we did not do general body meetings with SGA. This year we will. I'm letting you know very last minute, and I know that, so don't tell me that I'm letting you know last minute. But the way that I've planned them, they're not going to be really general body meetings. It's more like there's tables set up on Main Street. We're going to have pizza, and we're all just going to sit around and talk about what you do. So very easy stuff. If you are available, it is this Wednesday at 6 p.m.
I can do that.
I can do that. How does this differ from our
I'm sorry.
Have we advertised
Yeah,
this?
I forgot
Have you
about it.
advertised this?
Okay, so literally, I had one
This
planned
Wednesday
like
at
2 weeks
6.
ago too, and I forgot about it, and then I told them to cancel it, so I have to do this.
Let's do it.
So,
Is it every Wednesday at 6?
no,
Okay,
it's
we
not
got
every
it. Okay,
Wednesday.
guys. So let's just finish
Send
the
that invite
announcement.
out.
Yes, thank you. It's not every Wednesday. It's once every like 3-ish weeks. So it's not too bad. If you can come, please come. You're not gonna have to prepare anything or do a presentation or anything like that. You're just gonna sit around, eat pizza, tell students about what you do. Once we have the graphic design people in place, we're gonna be doing like 1-pagers of Senate and Finance Board updates for each general body meeting, so that people are obviously just going to come by and grab pizza if they don't care about SGA, but while they're grabbing pizza, we're going to give them that 1-pager that they can take with them. And yeah, that's that. So we're going to invite executive council to that as well, and FYAs. So at the very least, you can get to know some of them.
Hey, I love it.
Awesome. Any other announcements?
Just a reminder, senators, we are having our one-on-ones this week. So I already saw 4 4 of y'all today. I should be seeing the rest of y'all this week.
Can you resend those invites? Because it disappeared at my email.
Yeah? Okay. No problem.
Any other announcements? Alright, I adjourn.
Wait.
I am in need of a student representative
For what?
to sit on the College Town Student Governance Summit planning team. So,
What is this?
what is this? Let me tell you.
Okay.
So, last year was the inaugural College Town Student Governance Summit, so it's a meeting of all of the student governments that are at schools that belong to College Town. So, it was us, Micah, Goucher, Loyola, Johns Hopkins, Towson, is
Yeah,
Towson there? Towson, what's Towson there? UMB, University of Baltimore. I think that was it. So last year it was at Morgan State, this year it's here. I put the invite on your calendar, February 1st.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Attendance is expected. Attendance is expected. It's on Saturday, and it's here, so easy lemon squeezy. February 1st, 2020. What is all the faces about? So I need someone to sit on this committee with me, with other people.
Yes, Rashad. Awesome.
It's a meeting. You don't even know when the meetings are.
8:30 to 4.
No, that's not it.
Oh.
That is the actual summit. That is the event that this committee is planning. We typically meet on Friday afternoons from 2 to 4, not every Friday. People that are currently available. Rashad, Taryn, Reese. What do you mean? This is your calendar says you are.
It's weekly?
Oh, Mike, I don't. I use my personal Gmail.
So you don't take that for Candace. If any, not anybody else. So Rashad, are you available?
Will you send me an invite?
I'm asking you. You are available
Oh, yes.
on October 18th.
Yes.
You are. You want to sit on this committee?
What are the time requirements besides some just a weekly meeting?
No, it's not weekly. It's like monthly.
Then yes.
And then some planning outside of the meeting.
So what about
Phone calls, come to my office.
is it just with you?
It would be with other people in College Town. So like people at Loyola, people at Notre Dame, whether they were there for the why are you making that face?
I'm not making a face.
Is she making a face?
Brenda's always making
Did Rashad, are you doing it?
No, no. I'm not the law.
Well, can you decide now?
Can you table it?
So I want to put that in your ear, little bug in your ear. I'll send it out to the group.